Welcome back. The Talent Digital Summit will now continue. Please welcome back to the stage our host, Mr. Łukasz Ilves.
So I hope that everyone's enjoyed an extended exercise in parallel quantum computing called breakout sessions and lunch. And as in the real development of quantum computing, it's taken a little bit longer than scheduled. But here we are, collapsed back to a classical state. And it's time to talk about the big boy in the block, the EU. We have a new EU Commission. We have a whole new set of policy priorities. And we have the world's moral superpower trying to figure out how to orient itself in the world of AI. And so, in a moment, I'd like to invite to the stage one of the architects of the European Union's AI strategy, senior scientist at the Digital Economy Unit of the European Commission's Joint Research Center, to discuss the uptake and impact of AI in the EU with his esteemed panel. Please welcome to the stage Gianluca Misuraca.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends. It's a great pleasure to be here in Estonia again. I think it's like 20 years that I come here regularly, and I see the developments really and the progresses in the country in the digital, in the uptake and the impact of digital technology. And this is the topic for today. And in fact, I will make a very brief introduction, and then I will give the stage actually to the real stars that are the countries of the EU. So as Lucas says, I have a small role in a big organization that is the Joint Research Center that is the knowledge service of the European Commission to support the policy DGs in developing policies on different topics. In particular on digital transformation and AI, we have been working in the last few years. But just to set the context, as it was not really recalled this morning, but last year was definitely I think the Time magazine cover should be the person of the year AI, because we had the declaration on AI in April, where all the member states, plus Switzerland and Norway, signed a joint statement on making the maximum of AI. That this was followed by a communication in April, and then another one at the end of the year when the coordinated action plan or AI Made in Europe was adopted. Just before that, and also to show the importance of the public sector in this picture, there was the high-level conference on digital government, and there was, in my opinion, a shift in the way we've been looking at the manner that technology can transform government. And within the same time frame, we made our homework because we've been researching how AI can have impact on different areas, and so looking this from a multidisciplinary perspective. And just the day before the coordinated action plan was adopted, we launched our publication on AI and European perspective. So I was very glad to see the representative of Microsoft today that was also using the same word, as my colleagues have been looking at these from different perspectives and different standpoints. Now, this was also the basis for the AI Watch, that is monitoring systems to accompany the member states in the development and rolling out of their strategies. And we started this, it's in a joint initiative of DG Connect and JRC, also with support of Digit when it comes to the public sector. And we are actually monitoring the implementation of the strategies, but also beyond that, what is the capacity that we are developing in Europe as a whole, and what are the different initiatives, and what is their impact, as I say, from a multidisciplinary perspective. And if we look at the public sector, that is the specific area where I work, we have an activity that has an ambitious goal of, first of all, landscaping, so understanding what's happening in Europe. And we have already started these, and we see a variety of initiatives. But also, we want to go a step beyond that, and also trying to develop a common approach to assess the impact that in specific public services AI is having or will have in the future. And this will be, in particular, started this year, but it will be rolled out in the coming months. We have already started, as I said, so we had made a preliminary landscaping. We're gathering over 100 initiatives in different countries, but we have a number of limitations, of course, difficulties also to identify initiatives that, as it was mentioned today, may be called AI, but not really AI, or are not called AI and actually are employing AI technology. So, and also we want to really see what's happening and not just what is planned. So what is the effective use of AI technology? So here just a snapshot of some of the first results we gather. There are actually implementations of AI in Europe, but there are significant differences within countries with a high variety of AI types and use. And mainly they are focused on the performance value, if you want, the value driver. But we are also interested on how they can make a society more fair and inclusive. And okay, I won't go into details, but at the moment we see mainly the, let's say, use of AI technology for, chatbots or very basic initiatives, mainly in the general public services, while the potential for instance, for healthcare or social protection is still not exploited. So, just to conclude, we are working to have a more detailed overview of what's happening, and we will make a proposal of an approach for assessing use and impact of AI in public services that will be further refined next year. And the idea is to come together with member states to develop a kind of roadmap for development of AI. And here, as I was discussing with the representative of Finland and my colleagues of DG Connect that are also here, we will have a first workshop in Helsinki alongside the Data Economy Conference that I'm sure Maria will tell us a bit later. So without any further ado, I will introduce also the colleagues in this panel. We are very lucky because we have a representative from Sweden, Poland, and Finland. So I will call on stage Stina Billinger, that is State Secretary to the Minister for Business, Industry and Innovation from Sweden. Thank you. And we have the honor of having Karol Okoński, if I pronounce well, from Poland. He is Secretary of State at the Ministry of Digital Affairs, and he's in charge of the work of various departments for digital services, cybersecurity, and has a vast experience in the field. So very glad to have him here. And last but not least, Maria Rautavirta from Finland. She's Director of Data Business Unit at the Ministry of Transport and Communication. And as I mentioned, she also represents the current presidency of the EU Council, Finland, and is doing very well. And we are very eager to see the results, especially in the digital and information society policy. So, as we have a very condensed time, so I will go straight in asking the minister and representative of ministries to give us a quick flavor of what you're doing in the area of AI, because we need your help to make the map look much nicer as it is now. So with more cases, initiatives of the effective use of AI, and of course, how these are linked to the strategies that you are developing or have already launched. So I will start from Stina, and then Karol and Maria.
Thank you.
Please.
So it's fantastic to be here. It's been a really inspirational day. And Sweden, we have been represented here at the conference every year, and it's really important for us to be able to come here to Estonia and to share perspectives. So thank you for a great conference first. But I was asked to say a few words about the Swedish strategic approach to AI. And the most important thing, or the basics of this approach, is that we set up the goal to be leading in taking advantage of the opportunities that AI is giving us as a society. And it might be like, it's not just words, it's really an opportunity-based approach. Because we're always, maybe not always, but at least it's very common that we discuss AI as a threat or as a challenge or something that is affecting us and we have to tackle. From our perspective, we really wanted to think about how can AI serve us achieving the goals that we have set up as a nation. We want to be the first fossil-free welfare state, for example. How can we use data and AI to achieve that goal and to create a better and more equal society for our citizens? So therefore, we put up 4 pillars in this approach. The first one is education and training. Basically, we have to hire the knowledge of AI from the young kids up to all adults in our society. We have to have a long-term supply of competence in the field. And also we have to raise awareness among all citizens that AI is here and it's going to affect us in many ways, but it's also going to bring us a better society. And therefore we did one thing. We imported the course from Finland called Elements of AI, which is an online course that we can offer free to all citizens of Sweden. And we try to encourage all the people to take the course and to sort of hire their knowledge. So that's one thing. And then we have the research pillar. And obviously, strong research is important for Sweden as a nation, but it's essential if we are to bring and to release the opportunities that AI. And we have to not just hire the quality of the research within Sweden, we also have to attract scientists from mainly EU, but also from other countries in the world. And then we have to create test beds and pilot projects to be able to innovate within the field of AI. And we have to open these test beds for not just for companies, also for municipalities and for civil society to be able to try out and create pilots to use the benefits of AI. So that's the third pillar. And the fourth is, of course, framework and infrastructure. It's both like the basic physical infrastructure, like we have to always be on top of building digital infrastructure. We are a large country, so we really need to tackle that. But also framework. And we have to make sure that we have a strategic approach and always like make sure that we implement the last research that we can find in this field. And in the last part, what I also want to highlight is that we realize that we have to be faster. We have to work with policy innovation a lot more. We have to be all the decision makers and the policy makers of Sweden have to be faster in order to develop. And therefore we created a working group or a committee that is working for us all the time to be out in the society and to work with different groups and entrepreneurs and businesses and to be able to have this link directly into the government and come with proposals all the time. So therefore we try to create this link to continuously challenge us with, are we having the right policy? Are we fast enough to tackle these challenges?
Well, thanks a lot. And actually, taking from this, the sense of urgency, the speed, the fact we need to adopt, in a fast way, the policy for the very rapid changing technological landscape. So how are you addressing these challenges in Poland?
Yes, so to no surprise, like Poland also wants to have its national AI strategy, and we're working on this document right now. probably we'll be going to conclude it within next few next weeks. But the important thing is, I think, and this is, let's say, the common notion in the document, but also was also vital in the creation of the documents, actually to try to do it and to structure it, to design it together across all sectors of the industry, so both the academic, the public sector, and the commercial sector. Because I think if I would to name the three main characteristics, I would say, or the leitmotifs of the document would be, the first would be the cooperation between the public and private sector, which I think is basically the key to the development of AI technology. Also, if you look into current spending into AI all over the world, actually the spending on the commercial side is much higher than on the public sector. But at the same time, you would like to streamline the funds in the way that you come up with the solutions that can also the state and the citizens can benefit from. And then another factor would be the efficiency. So knowing that the funds are limited and that, like you say, the time is running, and you would like to also to take a part in this race and not lag behind. You have to act quickly and have some specific areas where you can actually, having some real problems, can very quickly test and verify if the AI is the right solution for this, and if yes, if it is so, then based on this, try to scale up and to build like a proper solution, like the long-standing solution. So here, what we think is important is, let's say, the whole both the procurement and the cooperation process that should be much different from the standard procurement process that is most popular in Poland. So that's why we are here trying to adopt the idea of sandboxing, what we call the digital regulatory sandbox, where we create the environment where having some real challenge from the community that AI, for example, can solve, we can actually test the connection and the interoperability and required changes in the law, but only after we actually confirm that this is the things that will be solving the given problem, not to overregulate or not to do it the other way around. And the idea of so-called GovTech, so let's say in making the whole procurement process much more faster, if having, let's say, the challenge and inviting also the startups and small and middle enterprises to take part in some providing some small components, but in the end that we can build together and have some robust solution, but avoid the fact that only the big players will be able to take part in this race. And the third factor I would say that is for us very important is what has been mentioned here already a number of times, is, let's say, what we call this human centricity, or the fact that we should make sure that whatever we do, we keep the exclusive control of human over the machine. Because if we start providing solutions that actually do not follow this rule, we can, I think, just spoil the whole environment and the whole approach that, or the attitude towards AI of general public. Because we first build some awareness, but if we will be providing solutions where, let's say, only the profit is the main factor for the solution, then we can actually just make people afraid of making some use of the AI. So here, we have to balance, let's say, some natural free market and some creativity, but with some minimal, let's say, baseline regarding the security, trustworthiness, and this human centricity of the solutions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. And I mean, the minister said that an important element is the cooperation between public and private actors, so that is, if you want, these ecosystems from which AI can flourish, can work. And so maybe from Maria we can. This morning also there was a lot of discussion about the data flows and the sharing of data between different actors. So I know you are working in that area. So what about the governance of AI and the data that is underlying this process?
Yes, thank you. Distinguished delegates and dear friends. As Gianluca said, I'm kind of wearing two hats. On the one hand, I'm very proud to present Finland, the #1 country of DESI index of OECD, but on the other hand, being concerned on the 27 countries of the EU as a whole, as a presidency. So artificial intelligence is built strongly on the data economy and the accessibility of data, and that is something we are focusing on during our presidency, so to bring back the brick and mortar or the foundations of what are the key elements where we have to be strong in EU in order to drive the use of AI and applications on that sector as well. So we have been working on these data principles to provide a framework and practical solutions for the fair user rights on data, and not only for the public sector data, but also on the private, non-privacy related data. So to have the data flowing, then we can be sure that the AI companies will come and innovate. So more than setting the barriers or tackling the side effects of use of AI, we want to also build the profounds for the innovation and the investments on that fact. But then on the second, we would like to see the technologically neutral operational framework, so not to concentrate only on AI, which is one technology as we see it, but also to make certain that the market is open for new innovations as well that are to come, most definitely. It's the similar approach as in 5G. We want to be the early adopters of 5G because we know that when we have the 5G, then the innovations will follow, but the innovations cannot come before we have the network that is faster and more reliable than the previous ones. But then on thirdly, the essence of AI systems is the transparency, and I'm happy to have heard that many times during these days as well. So the transparency is something we want to strengthen and also to interpret. So it's the traceability, the explainability, and the interpretability that are essential in that relation. And from the technological point of view, the transparency is needed to assess a sufficient level of data protection and information security depending on the use case. So for autonomous vehicles it's different, but on some other use case it's a little different how you kind of apply the principles. But the aim should be that authorities and us have ability as being behind the wheel or in the steering of this development to steer the development in the right direction. So that is something I have sensed that that's a common understanding on the ethics behind the AI and the use. So it's also something that influences the people, and why we also say this human-centered focus in the data economy as well. And we have also welcomed the work on the Commission on the issue, and think we have all the factors to success to have the label AI done in EU as a kind of a benchmark for reliable, human-centric, and that kind of a status. But however, we are focusing on EU, we also have to look at the global level. So data flows regardless of the border. So we have to look broader, the international perspective, bring everybody along so that we also find new kinds of tools outside the EU toolbox. And last but not least, there is also the human intelligence, and as was mentioned, the elements of AI. 100,000 Finns have already taken the course, out of which half have been female. So it's easy to adapt a way how everybody can get along in the AI development. So the skills of organizations, but also the individuals, is very important aspect. So this kind of thinking.
On this last issue, I mean, the elements of AI made his way to Brussels, because tomorrow morning there is a session on elements of AI. It's fully booked, and so that's good news. But now, since I mean, the topic of this conference is AI for public value, and so one of the, I mean, the challenge we have. I mean, both at the, I mean, in each member state, but or even more at the EU level, is to better understand what are the impacts that you know, specific choices will have, a specific policy. And so, are you? I know it's a difficult question because, but are you thinking of the way how you are assessing? So, what is the public value that you think AI can, let's say, unleash in your specific country? So, in that sense, you mentioned you know, the ambition of Sweden. We have here the strategy. We are looking at all the strategies, so to make sure that also we can have a kind of common approach, exactly maybe based on the values, on the European values. So, if we have a quick round on these, then maybe we see if we have time for one question, maybe.
Do you want me to start? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have commissioned the Statistics Sweden, the government agency, to map the use of AI both in the public sector and in the private sector. First to get the foundation or the basics, but then to be able to sort of follow how different sectors are working with AI. But so that, I mean, to get the basic statistics, but the part that I think is the hardest one to measure, but maybe the most challenging for policymakers, is the one on digital inclusion and exclusion. And I mean, is this a race that everybody is in, or is it left to just some people? Are we giving everybody the skills to understand this new fields, or is it just for younger people in the cities, for example? And I believe that the question around exclusion or digital exclusion is a hard one, and we're gonna. It needs political answers, and it's going to be hard to follow up in like smaller measures. It's sort of the bigger societal changes that. But from our perspective, that might be the most important challenge, to be able to make sure that the opportunities and the benefits of the new technologies and of AI is creating a better society for everybody.
Well, I will look at it from two perspectives. I think the first one is quite easy to measure, although it takes time. It's basically when you apply AI, when there is, let's say, some calculated business case behind it. So there's like increased efficiency or decreased cost of, for example, running something inside, like, you know, being it automation in a factory, or be it, let's say, the process within the public administration. An example might be something that we are working in Poland right now. Because of the fact there is still quite big inflow of traditional paper correspondence coming into the ministry, or the all ministries, or the non-structured letters that require some intelligence, basically, to make sure that who should take care of it. So that's why we want to apply AI here, and analyzing the language and learning the system, so it can do actually the automatic routing of this correspondence to respective ministry. So here, basically, what we save is a time of the people, and increase accuracy, the shortage of solving a given case. So here, what is only the problem is that it just takes time till you actually end up to the point that the system is good enough actually to have this high rate of accuracy. But within longer time, it will always pay off. Then the second part is difficult, and I definitely I think it's still area for some kind of discussions that where AI can actually spur some completely new possibilities, which would be not possible without AI, where just human capacity is just not enough, or that, for example, in case of autonomous vehicles, you give the possibility of either to drive someone from one place to another, or maybe that he would not be able, because of his physical disabilities, to do it on his own. Or at the same time, you try to calculate some additional benefit from the fact that someone, instead of driving, is actually thinking or cooperating or doing some teamwork together. So I think some of the KPIs it will be very hard, first of all, to come up with and then to measure. But I do agree that in order to, let's say, to monitor the progress, we have at least come up with a draft of few and just adapt them, or have some different kinds of them, let's say, or subversions depending on the business application.
Yeah, maybe Maria, because the issue of, say, kind of radical innovation in the public sector that could be brought by AI, something that in Finland you are known to be innovative. So maybe.
Coming back to the previous notion that any technology, the AI or the future ones, will provide for the society the goals that we set, for instance, for the climate change, for better housing, mobility, and so on. So the basic aim is already clear and set. And then what means we have towards those solutions is, of course, depending on the current possibilities. For instance, for AI, I think the first application we used it for was to find all the AI companies in Finland, to use the data in the registries and in the internet to map the AI landscape in Finland. And that was done by a private company for the request of the public sector. But now we are entering the phase where the public agencies are looking for opportunities to use the AI as better serve in their original purpose. So for AI, there is no need for setting the targets or what we should aim AI with, but to provide data. If there is adequate data, usually there is also a business case for AI use. So they are kind of synchronized in a means, and there's a budgetary negotiations in Finland at the moment. So if we get a little more money, we can do, of course, more developing work also in the public sector and faster results. But also taking into consideration the municipalities, where there's also fragmented data, and we have to get the data out of the silos in order to give the AI the opportunity it needs.
Okay, I'm looking at the organizer. I don't know if we have more time for questions. So say no. But I think it was a condensed but very rich discussion. So I mean, a round of applause for the panelists. And I hope to see you in Helsinki in November. And now I give the floor back to Lucas, the host.
Gianluca.